Today's heartbreaking news. A longtime wrestler feels that the lineage narrative with Roman Reigns doesn't need a WWE and solo Sikoa. Legend, not in use right now, Jay. Cornette clarified Paul Heyman's reasons for being able, kept missing television till he was required before WWE's return of Reign. SummerSlam, the Bloodline eliminated Heyman. At when he failed to recognize Solo at the new tribe chief, they assigned the Hall of Famer across the announcement table using a powerbomb, startling the viewers inside Madison Square Garden in a modern era episode of his The Experience podcast. Cornette clarified why it could be wise to keep Heyman far from the current inheritance plot. He wants WWE to rescue his comeback for when the business really need him back on TV. They do not. Even now, he is the excellent one needed right now. Part about, I'm not trying to slap Paul off as I'm saying that's the fantastic. To be honest, they hardly need him. Now, they may keep it for whenever they want. When they do, Cornette said 614 to 631. Paul Heyman has gone from television after the Bloodline's assault toward the conclusion of, but June the Wizen has been busy on social media and showed up at the fervent celebration in New York City. Paul has. Heyman notes his absence on WWE TV as described above. Paul Heyman visited Fanatics Fest in New York. York City got his own part at portion of Sam Roberts' Not Sam Wrestling podcast. Mon was questioned about his absence on TV and his maybe comeback. I don't want to just be on television for the purpose of being on. Everything we do on television needs to be pertinent, that guides every thinking underlying the island. Known for relevance, should I find myself returning at SummerSlam with Roman Reigns wouldn't have signified anything. Nothing there was. Want me to help to create that moment, Heyman remarked. H/T fightful, the present narrative with Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa is currently developing with the OTC written off TV 2 weeks ago. People are frightened, wondering who Reigns will call upon to support. He fought C's Bloodline that evening. Was electrical, the arena humming with expectation as the gathering saw the next phase in the Bloodline saga. Roman, the tribe chief, had been away Reigns from SmackDown for many weeks, causing many to question if the group was about to collapse. Yet behind his absence something unexpected event occurring alone. Sikoa, the youngest descendant of the lineage, started to demonstrate that the family didn't demand the return of a WWE icon for maintain its supremacy. A seasoned expert of the entrepreneurship, Paul Heyman had observed superstars from several generations pass through. First to express this opinion, the camera swung to the backstage section where Heyman, accompanied by the towering presence of Soul S, stood before a WWE interviewee. Heyman's eyes gleamed with a mix of pride and guile as he took care of the WWE Universe. The Bloodline concerns more than merely one man. Mon started, his voice pouring with conviction. Certainly Roman Reigns is the tribe chief, yet the power of the Bloodline consists in its unity and its legacy. And this young guy here beside me, Solo Sikoa, is the embodiment of that strength. There is discussion on needed a legend to come back to preserve the Bloodline. But let me say something here. The only lineage saving required is in progress, and it is happening via solitary Sikoa. The message sent shockwaves sweep the WWE Universe for weeks as whispers had spun around the possible resurgence of a venerable WWE superstar person able to strengthen the Bloodline in Roman's absence. Names like The Rock and Archie flew about in fan debates, in which many feel that the family sought a hard hitter to help with recover their authority, but Heyman's comments made it very obvious alone was the future, and the lineage had no need of searching for the past to guard their heritage tonight. Later that night alone, Reckoning, Sikoa was scheduled to challenge the best WWE superstar contest with either confirm his position in the bloodline or divulge his flaws. The competitor Drew McIntyre, guy whose tears since then had become erratic, going back to SmackDown, and whose had his eye fixed on dismantling the bloodline, as Solo headed to the arena ringed with a chorus of mixed nature responses. Several of the supporters applauded the young star, admiring his tough nature, rigorous style. Others stayed doubtful. Should he be able to bear the weight of the coursing over his wide shoulders, devoid of Roman's direction? Starting the match with McIntyre, Reigns, using his stature and background to acquire the upper hand, he threw around the ring, making it quite evident he was not scared by the younger, less encountered Sikoa. But Solo wasn't about. He had learned from the past how to turn back down. Finest Roman, Jimmy, and Jay on what it entails. Went to thrive in the WWE. More significantly, he had something to demonstrate: his ability to carry the lineage. Even the absence of a renowned person to mentor Guy as the game went on started along. To establish his rhythm, he responded counterwise. Every time McIntyre believed he had Solo, his strength combined with pure brute force and fast resiliency. Down for business, the Samoan bulldozer would climb once again, motivated by his pride of his heritage and the aspirations of his family. The turning point, the contest, peaked when McIntyre set out on for his hallmark kick, the Claymore. The audience gasped when McIntyre's charged towards Single, ready to provide the last blow, but in a split second alone avoided. The kick felt with a terrible force. Samo's Spike Aves gesture honoring the greats who before him. McIntyre crushed to the mat, and the referee hand dabbed the canvas for the 3 count. Alone has won. The arena exploded. The supporters, incapable of rejecting the authority potential of the young star Solo, emerged triumphant in the ring, his chest heaving with diligence. Paul Heyman joined in. He, the experienced manager, brought Solo's hand a symbolic action meant to said to the globe, the bloodline remains a power to be with, and it was alone themselves who would guide them into the future. Backstage fallout. In the backstage areas, there was obvious conflict among WWE personnel. Management as well as the roster were humming. Regarding Solo's victory, several were intrigued, others dubious. One thing was obvious: Sikoa had just shown himself as appropriate threat in the WWE scene. Even in the locker room, the USOs watched the game play out. There was feeling of pride mingled with caution. Jimmy and Jay had seen what Solo was capable of course, but they also understood the WWE was where alliances might change in an instantaneous. Would Solo's ascent bring them closer together, or would it produce fresh divides inside the bloodline? Paul Heyman is always the strategist. Was fast to answer the issues in speaking with the USOs and other important descendants of the bloodline. He underlined from his prior comment, we don't need to retrieve a legend to support the validation of the bloodline. Heyman replied with his voice constantly but